Welcome to our MA in Performance Coaching. In this showreel, we will give you an overview of the course so that you can make an informed choice. This is a unique pathway, and we are the only course in the world that will provide a solid theoretical foundation exploring the social and psychological needs of the performer. We draw together up-to-date empirical evidence to deepen your understanding of the pressures experienced by the performing artist. We treat performers as unique, and we avoid a direct comparison to sports athletes or leaders and managers. We explore artistic, sensitive coaching mentoring theory, and we apply theory to practice through the development of relevant coaching strategies. We will prepare you for career coaching, dealing with stress, burnout, and coaching performance anxiety, and you will build valuable hours to kickstart a career in performance coaching. In terms of course structure, we begin the process with a formative assignment. We have two forms of assignment: formative, which is non-assessed, and summative, that is formally assessed. We use the formative assignment process to build your skills, either your written skills or your coaching skills. And your first assignment will examine the psychology and social psychology of the performer.
So, what is an identity? An identity is the traits, the characteristics, the social relations, the roles, and social group memberships that define who an individual is. So, if we look at these two concepts in contrast, our low self-efficacy versus our high self-efficacy people. People who experience low self-efficacy, so people who have a lesser perception of their ability to cope in a particular circumstance, they tend to view failure as being a lack of ability. Whereas people who have got high self-efficacy in a certain domain, they believe they can do something within that domain, they perceive failure as being a lack of effort. And I think that those two comparisons kind of explains what self-efficacy is as clearly as possible. Another key point about the constructed emotion theory is that emotions may appear and be experienced differently by different people. So, because we construct them in the moment based on what's going on, and then we recall those constructions to help us make sense of the world, it will all depend on what you've experienced and the environment that you've experienced it in. To determine how you experience emotions. It might also be the reason why we express things differently on our faces. So if you're brought up in a family where you've been taught to perhaps not express your emotions so openly on your face, if you're feeling angry, you might smile. Or if you're in a social situation where it's not socially appropriate for you to be angry, you may then just smile to yourself and seethe inwardly. But that doesn't fit the basic emotion theory in terms of facial projections of anger. So there are different ways that we express what we're feeling, and there are different ways that we experience what we're feeling. Brene Brown, as you know, I'm a fan of Brene. She says that perfectionism is a self destructive and addictive belief system that fuels this primary thought. If I look perfect and do everything perfectly, I can avoid or minimize the painful feelings of shame, judgment, and blame. So this study is analyzing the relationship between musical self-esteem and performance anxiety levels in music students. So they're looking at specifically musical self-esteem rather than students' kind of global self-esteem. It is a questionnaire study, and here are the measures they used in case you are interested. So what did they find? They found that the majority of students possessed mid-range MPA. So some sort of like not the majority of the people weren't extremely experiencing extreme music performance anxiety, but most people also didn't have none. They were just kind of sitting in the middle somewhere with their experience of music performance anxiety. Here, interestingly, I told you there was a couple of studies where this has happened. Male students reported more musical performance anxiety than female students. So we've got the opposite to our normal trend in this study. Um, But what they found, and I think that this is super interesting, is that students with higher musical self-esteem had higher performance anxiety scores. So higher, they had higher competency and self-worth beliefs around their musical abilities. Those people who had that had higher performance anxiety scores. Why? Why does that happen? Well, maybe it's because trying to maintain that standard creates a threat to the self. So having to constantly perform at this level that they believe that they are at may then cause further anxiety. The authors don't go into too much their thoughts on why this might happen. So maybe you've got some ideas that you want to have a think about and possibly jot down. So to summarize what we've looked at so far, okay, firstly, careers in the performing arts are ranked as one of the highest careers with regards to occupational stress. Secondly, career stress and stage fright are not independent. Okay, there's a relationship. Being aware of the potential consequences of minor mistakes increases performance anxiety symptoms. There really is no room for error in this occupation, not if you want to make it to the top. So this is what we're going to be covering in this 7 series. We're going to be looking at social relationships and performers. We're going to do that today. So today is just kind of a general overview of the topic and how groups work within performance settings. Then we're going to have a theory, pretty much a theory only class, which is looking at social identity theory and self-categorization theory. We're then going to be looking at social comparison, then group norms and social exclusion, social cohesion, social facilitation, and then finally self-presentation.
After you've completed your formative assignment, you will then move on to Module 1. You will be asked to explore a number of coaching and mentoring theories with a view to finding your feet as a coach. You will explore theoretical perspectives and you will reflect on your practice. You will also begin to gain valuable coaching experience.
So here's a coaching question for you. Is it possible to increase your UPR? So what is UPR? It is unconditional positive regard, which is critical in person-centered coaching. And it's asking of you as a coach whether you can be truly non-judgmental and without bias. In which case you need to be aware of the kinds of things that might make UPR challenging. For example, working with someone with a particular political affiliation or religious belief or personal preferences or values. You might need to probe a little and find your way through to empathizing with their position.
So this course has 3 parts to it, and this is part 1. Here I'm going to be giving you an overview of ACT. Again, that's acceptance and commitment training. There are 2 main parts to part 1. First, I'm just going to basically introduce you all to the ACT model, introduce key ideas like psychological flexibility, psychological inflexibility, and help you determine how to detect flexibility, how to detect inflexibility. And then secondly, we're going to talk about the research support for ACT. And I can think of 2 good reasons why you might want to know about that. The first is quite simply, it's good to know what the level of research support is for ACT in treating a variety of the common problems that you're going to be faced with undoubtedly as a performance coach, like, for example, performance anxiety or performance enhancement work. So it's good to know what the research says in terms of ACT's effectiveness in treating those problems. And secondly, if you want to be an evidence-based practitioner, whether it's as a performance coach or as a teacher or even as a therapist, if you're a therapist watching this video, it's good to know how to make that determination, not just for ACT, but for any coaching or therapeutic intervention that you might see yourself using with coaching clients. So I'm going to teach you how to make that determination using standards that have been set forth by clinical psychologists for kind of determining the level of research support that a therapy or a coaching intervention has in treating X problem.
So in this presentation, we're going to have a little look at somatic coaching, which is a change process that I think will be quite appealing to performers. And it looks to transform by helping to deepen awareness of habitual patterns and narratives. And in terms of coaching, its aim is to support clients to move towards who they wish to become in life and work, and to look for sustainable change that will occur when the human being as well as the human doing is addressed.
So I'm going to be talking about existential coaching, and what existential coaching and ontological coaching, which is the next video, have in common is that they both draw on philosophy. Now, existential philosophy is richly theorized and extremely diverse. You may want to brush up on a little bit of existential philosophy before you tackle this module, but be warned, it's a rabbit hole and it's very divergent. And you may well read it and then come to coaching and feel that there's a lot that needs to have been added, or feel quite frustrated that some of it hasn't been explored. And this is part of working within a discipline that is essentially very new and emerging. So some of these ideas have laid down and some of them need further development. Throughout the course, you will gain valuable coaching experience, and you will do this in a number of ways. Firstly, you will begin coaching straight away within your own practice, taking care to log all of your hours. Secondly, you'll be placed into a triad, and as a 3, you will coach, you will observe, and you will also feed back. This is an important process, enabling you to develop in a way that is less pressured. More formally, you will submit coaching for supervision. You will record a session, send it in to your supervisor, and they will also provide valuable feedback. In Module 2, you will explore both qualitative and quantitative research methods. It's designed to prepare you for research, and this will be undertaken in Module 3. Following your research methods assignment, you will have some time while you await ethics approval. You will move into triads to work on your coaching practice, and you will also engage in more valuable coaching supervision. After you've received ethics approval, you will engage in independent research in the form of the applied coaching module. You will devise a coaching strategy. You will coach for 6 sessions to 6 coachees, and from that data, you will draw inferences that will inform your professional practice.
So in this video, we're going to look at coaching models, and it's going to be a bit of a whistle-stop tour because there are a lot of models, and you'll be able to go out and work out by researching which ones suit your coaching style and the sort of clients that you'll be working with. So what is a coaching model? So a coaching model is basically a method that's designed to guide an individual through the process from where they are currently to where they want to be. So it's your method. The purpose of a coaching model is also to create a framework for the coaching conversation and for guiding your coachee through a basic set of steps to establish a desired goal and to understand where they are and what they're going to be doing to get to where they want to be. So you'll be exploring the options for where they're headed and determining what sort of obstacles will be in their way and putting together an action plan. So this will be part of your process, which will offer you some structure for both your individual coaching conversations with your coachee and also for the whole coaching journey that they're going to be on with you.
In Module 4, you'll carry out an investigation into music performance anxiety. You will be able to explore this from any angle of your choosing, and you will be mentored through this process with accompanying videos.
Hi everybody, welcome. Today we're going to be looking at the Triple Vulnerability Framework, which is a framework by Barlow, and it was originally designed to explain how anxiety develops over time. So not specifically focused on music performance anxiety, although it has been adapted and certainly welcomed by the music performance anxiety community. So today what we're going to do is we're first going to introduce ourselves to Barlow and his theory. We're then going to look at how it's been adapted by the music performance anxiety community. And then we're also going to look at a few papers. So a couple that support his framework and also one that supports some of the framework, but not all of it.
Definitions of MPA. So there are 4 objectives for anyone listening to this lecture. The first is, I'd like for you to know how MPA is currently defined by researchers and clinical psychologists. And as I made clear in the first slide, you'll be able to see the evolution of how MPA has been defined from the 90s until today, becoming increasingly more precise, which is helpful then in satisfying the second objective. With a good definition comes proper measurement. So if you're actually doing MPA research and you're listening to this lecture, then the second objective will apply to you. You should know how to properly measure it. Thirdly, I'd like for you to know the categories of MPA symptoms and examples of each. That one is pretty straightforward, where we'll be talking about physiological arousal symptoms, cognitive symptoms, behavioral symptoms, etc. And lastly, if you're not planning on doing research, but you simply want to be able to help, it's helpful to know how to detect signs of MPA in your students or professional clients. We're not going to talk about treatment yet, but at this point, it's still important to highlight how detecting MPA can go a long way.
In Module 5, you will explore a range of different coaching strategies. You will combine theory with practice, and you will submit for further supervision.
Welcome to a course in motivational interviewing, which is essentially a psychotherapy/coaching model to help you talk about and promote change within your coaching clients.
I'll be taking you through a Mindfulness for Performance coaches course, in which you'll get a general overview of the theory and practical research in this field. And if you choose to include mindfulness in your coaching toolkit, lots of food for thought to guide you in whatever path you wish to pursue.
The MA culminates in a final dissertation. This is an independent research report on any area of your choice. You will be mentored throughout this process.